What's up guys, welcome to a new episode and a new cosplay that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a Dark Deku mask. Now this is going to be a spoiler for the series. If you're worried about spoilers for My Hero Academia, I'm assuming that this is probably going to be 2 seasons later. Then I suggest you click away or at least skip to the end of the video where the costume is done and shown. But in this video we're going to be working on the Dark Deku mask and also the cape, because I felt like I couldn't make the mask without the cape because then it just looked weird like a bobblehead. I'm really surprised with how it turned out since this is my first time actually working with foam, and I did a few techniques that I haven't seen anywhere else and it turned out pretty well. So I hope you guys follow along. I hope I explain it well. I hope so. This video is almost 40 minutes. Overall, I like I said before, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys follow along. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and share this video with anyone you think might be interested in this sort of stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope I explained everything well. Hope you follow along, and I'll see you guys later. So I got this idea from a bunch of other YouTubers. So what I'm going to do is basically use a bunch of tinfoil. You could get these at the dollar store. I'm going to use them to kind of build up the base of the mask. And then after that, I could use some duct tape to cover it and then trace my template onto the duct tape. So that way I could cut that out and then transfer it onto some foam. So I pretty much finished the base of the mask. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick the side that I think looks the best. That way I don't waste too much of the masking tape, and also once I transfer this onto some foam, I will be able to make it a mirrored image. And I think that this side here is best. This side kind of looks more like, you know, ratchet a little bit. I do think that the design was based a little bit on a rabbit, maybe as like a homage to Rumi, who something happens to her in the manga. I'm not gonna say. Also, obviously emulating All Might's hair. I noticed once I was making the design here, how I wanted everything to work out. I did notice that it does look a lot like a rabbit. I don't know if that's true, but that is what my train of thought went to. But this side looks too much like an ear, whereas this one is a little more raggedy. Once I start putting the fabric on here, the ears are going to extend out a little more. I just needed this to be the base to be able to hold all of that fabric together. So I'm going to put maybe 2 or 3 layers of masking tape on this left side. That way I could trace where my template's going to go, and then we'll be able to transfer that onto some paper, and I'll be able to transfer that and the mirrored image onto some foam.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
So a lot of the cuts that I made here were at an angle. How I decided to do that was if they connected going inward, then the angle that I cut them would obviously be outward, and then the same as the opposite. So for example, the one in the middle, it's gonna be a rounded part, so I had to cut going inwards on both sides, so that way when they're connected, they're at a slight angle. It'll be easier to see the dome effect. So now I'm gonna go ahead and use this contact cement. Make sure you wear a mask for this, because this thing not only does it stink, but it's also very toxic. So make sure you wear the proper mask for the fumes.
Sound right, boy.
There we go. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab my heat gun. I'm gonna heat this up, and then places like this where it's kind of bowing down over here, or here where it's poofing out more than I want it to, I could form it so that it's the shape that I want it to be.
It sound right, boy.
So I did not design this. I downloaded this off of Thingiverse. I just printed it out. I didn't scale it or anything, but I did add these parts in the back just so that the pointed part could extend back a little more, and then touch another magnet to the mask, and then that's how it'll like stay together. But you can see I marked with the pencil already where the parts that have been chipped off and broken off are going to be. I'm just gonna go ahead and use the cutting bit on the Dremel. Just cut out the triangles and then use another bit to do like the little detail. So you can see I masked off the area that I painted matte black here, and then I went over everything else with the gloss black, and then even after that I added a gloss coating over it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over that with this all-clad chrome finish. This really is my recommended one, but you got to make sure that you got the gloss black base. That part is more important than actually the chrome, because if this part is not reflective, then the chrome is not going to end up being reflective. Even though I have scratch marks in there and dents and everything, they still got to be a smooth gloss black, or it's just not going to show up well when you paint it. So I'm going to use my airbrush to put this on. I'm just going to use a light coating. Got to make sure that I get into these underparts here, and then after that I'll be able to glue some magnets onto this thing, and then this will be finished. So you can see the shiny chrome finish. Now what I'm going to do is I got a microfiber towel here. It's pretty much going to both buff it, and there's also like a layer of kind of dust on top of it from the chrome paint. I don't know how well it's going to catch up, but I'm just going to do a light wisp there, and you can probably see. You can see why that's important to do before you do a clear coat on top of it. You're both buffing and cleaning off the residue. I'm also being careful not to put any of my fingers on it so that I don't get like any oil spots on it, because that could mess up the paint the way it cures, make it look obvious and weird. I'm gonna go over it with the all clad gloss clear coat. I might mask off these pieces again. I took them off earlier because I didn't want the paint to stick on them and then for it to be peeled off. I don't need to make it as pretty as I did before. This is gonna get weathered, so if there's like a little bit of gloss on some parts of the edges here, that's fine because that's gonna give the illusion of dirt or, you know, wet grease or whatever is on there. Now we're gonna be weathering this piece. You can see I already did the other side. But what I'm gonna use is this black shoe polish. I'm gonna do this first. Just put it everywhere, especially in these deep trenches here, all the seam lines, and then in the edges here. You don't want to miss the edges, and then the edges just look clean for some whatever reason. It's okay to take your time because if some of it dries, then you know, it'll look all right. You know, look pretty good. Wipe whatever off. I'm doing it quickly so that I don't take off the shoe polish that's in the depths of the seams. And you can see with that, some of it, the inside stayed black, the edges stayed black a little bit. I'm going to use a heat gun to dry that, and then now I'm going to go over with the brown shoe polish. Now I don't know how long he's been out and about, but if it's any more than a month, then maybe I would add rust that I have, but I'm not sure. And everywhere I've looked up, they don't seem to be giving me any answers. The black parts over here is where you're going to want the brown most of all, because that's where it's going to show up more than over here. Now we're going to go over with the black one more time. There we go. That's pretty much all the weather effects that I'm going to be doing to this piece. I'm going to go ahead and make some light up eyes for the costume, and what I'm going to use is all this stuff here. So here are some bright LED lights. There's the website that I got. It's also going to be linked in the description for these exact ones. So each one of these LEDs are going to be 3 volts. Up here I got these on Amazon as well. You can see each AA battery will take 1.5 volts, and there's 2 batteries, so 2 of them will make 3 volts. And then I will solder these onto each one, and then I believe this is ABS plastic here. You can see it's clear and also pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out 4 squares, and then I would use my belt sander to round it off to make a circle for the eye. And then after that I will spray each piece with this green paint with the airbrush. So what I'm going to do first is solder these pieces onto each LED, and then after that I'll be able to do some planning on this plastic here. So it looks like I missed me soldering it, but you can see on the LED on this corner here there's a little notch, and that tells me that this side is where the negative, also the black wire, is. You can see these battery packs also have an on-off switch, so I can put 2 AA batteries in here. Let's go ahead and close that. With the green plastic on top of that, it's gonna illuminate the green. So I want the eye to be 3/4 in diameter. I just gotta choose the areas and then mark them. Now I'm going to go ahead and sand these pieces so that way when the light comes through, it diffuses throughout the plastic. So I'm going to show you the difference here. This is obviously the sanded one. And you can see the light kind of diffusing throughout the whole thing, whereas this clear piece, it's focused on wherever the LED is. So when you sand it, it looks like the whole iris is lighting up and not just the little pupil. So this is the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit of black to the bottom, so that way when I go over it with the green again, it'll be a dark green, and it'll add a bit of depth to the iris. I'm going to pour some resin in there just to keep the shape of the ears. It's also going to add a little bit more structure to the thing. So you can see I did a light coat of a black vinyl spray paint, and then because of that I was able to see harsher corners and edges, so then I just sanded all of those down. So what I'm going to do now, when I glue the fabric onto here, I don't want it to show like these lines too harshly. And instead of putting some caulk around it, which I know a lot of people use, I'm gonna go ahead and just use some foam clay here. And if there's anywhere that I think needs a little more volume, maybe like make the head a little more rounder on top, then I'll be able to do that as well. So what the main focus is like these ear parts, just to make those like a smooth transition so that it doesn't look weird. I have worked with foam clay before, and I can say that I was a bit impressed. When it dries, it might take like a few days to dry completely, but when it does dry, it's pretty much the exact same as high density EVA foam. Some water just to smoothen it down. So now I'm going to go ahead and add some Mod Podge onto the entirety of this mask. This is going to act like a primer, and also it's going to keep it's going to fill in these little cracks here and these little pieces here. So I'm literally just going to, dump some on here, and then I don't know where my brush is. So I have the fabric that I'm going to be placing over this part of the mask, but what I want to do first is on the seam parts. Originally I was going to do like a carbon fiber vinyl around there just to make it look more high-tech or whatever, but instead what I decided is to make it a little more accurate to what's in the manga. That's like a really deep black that you can't really get anywhere except for here. So this has been considered the blackest paint that you could buy. It is black 3.0. What the heck is that? It is black 3.0, and it is by Stuart Semple. Also, his team as well. There's a whole story about this paint and like why it was made and all that. And I'm not gonna get into it because we're going to this, but this is one of the darkest blacks that you could get, and I thought that would be perfect to have on the mask where the seams are gonna be. I'll leave a link to a website you could buy this. There's also a 2.0 you could get on Amazon. So I'm gonna add about like 1.5 inch worth of a strip here. I'm gonna add it 1.5 inch worth where I think that this place where this seam's gonna go, and also I'm gonna add it to these back panels here, because this is not going to have any fabric on them. It's going to be the fabric's going to come through here, and then it's going to come out this way. So this, I want it to be really black. The bottle suggests that I do 2 coats on here, and in between coats you leave a long time for it to dry. I'm also going to put some around the eyes just in case the seam there doesn't go that way. So it says that the longer you leave it, the darker it gets, and also you should give it like a full day before you give it a second coat, which I haven't yet. So I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm gonna give it a second coat, wait another day, and then we'll see just how black it is. So I'm done with the coats that I'm gonna put now. You can see here how it looks on paper, just in case you want to see how differently it reacts to a different medium. I'm indifferent. I'm not amazed by it. I'm a little. If it was closer to how black it is on here, then maybe I'll be a little more amazed, but this is fine. I think it looks good, and I paid for that thing, so I'm gonna use it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut out the pieces of the fabric that I'm gonna be putting over this. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna place pieces of this over it. I'm gonna use some pins to place it in place, and then I'm gonna cut out the pieces where the seams are with scissors, but I'm gonna leave like 1 inch of space in between, so that way I could cut out like the tears. So now that I've cut the seams to how I kind of want them to be, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make them to where they stay standing up. You can see I've already done it to this other half over here, and how I did that was with the help of this anti-fraying thing. some pins, and paintbrush. So basically what I do is I just put a good layer onto where the spikes are going to be, and then use the pins to hold up how the spikes are. And then you leave it for 24 hours, and then the pieces stay the way that they are here. So I'm going to do that to this entire seam here, all of these flaps in the back, and on the other side as well. So I've done the anti-fray onto those pieces, and you can see they are now standing up on their own. These back pieces here, they're still kind of drying, which is why it's still white. I'm doing it on this side too, which is why it has all the pins in it still. But everywhere else, that's pretty much complete. Also with these green eye parts that I made earlier, I decided to remove the back layer and then just not do that piece there, because I felt like that they were sticking out a little too much. It kind of just looked derpy, so it still works as intended. So there is that. I also added a black wash into those cracks just to kind of make them pop out a little more. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and attach some of these magnets. Now what I'm gonna do is add some of these magnets onto this piece here and this piece here. I kind of want this to be optional. If photo shoots do come along, you know, I want to be able to just have this piece on rather than this piece, and then I can make another just a fabric one and then keep that in the backpack, and then that way that could get attached onto the back here. So the pointer part's gonna meet right here where that seam kind of ends. I'm gonna make sure that this point here goes under where that eye is, so about right there. I think I'm gonna add the magnets here on this one here, and then one about right here. And I'm gonna drill into the plastic a little bit just so that the magnets could sink into it, and that way there's not a gap in between the mask here and then this part of the mask here. Now my experiences with drilling into a 3D print have not been good. They've always sort of cracked on me as I'm drilling into it, but hopefully that just doesn't happen this time. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a small drill bit first just to kind of keep it aligned, and hopefully it'll also kind of take some stress off of it when it's... I'm just gonna do it. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh no, I went through. Does that even do anything for me? Not really. So I found a better bit, but you can see now I flattened it on the inside here. Actually, and then now that first magnet could slip right into there, flush with the rest of it. So all those are drilled out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and attach the magnets using E6000 glue. I would do super glue, but I'm afraid of there possibly being a residue that kind of like leaks through the plastic, like it tends to do sometimes. Attach the magnets there, and then I'm gonna use these binder clips to kind of just hold them in place. So all those magnets are glued onto the other side. Now eventually I'm gonna add a black mesh over this, just like I did with the face shell. One, so that these holes can be blacked out, so that way you can't see through them. Also, when you breathe, the condensation from your breath doesn't build up here, and then it just starts dripping. Now what I gotta do is find out where to attach the magnets onto this part of the mask. How I'm gonna do that is I'm just gonna hold this piece wherever I want it to be. On the inside, I have a magnet here. I'm just gonna place it over where the magnet is on the other side, and you can see it'll fix itself onto where it's gonna fit. So I just have to mark where the magnet lands itself right here, and then I'll do the same thing with the other ones. And then I'm gonna use this small sanding bit to kind of drill into the foam. Now the reason we're doing this is because we want the magnets to be as close together as possible, because the closer they are together, the stronger their pull is to each other. I only have that one magnet in right now, and you can see here it lifts up the entire mask. So once I have 5 other magnets attached to this thing, I might even add an extra one over here just to help support it just that much more. The fact that this one magnet is holding this 3D printed part, now I was hesitant to make this a 3D printed part instead of foam, only because of that weight problem. But seeing that one magnet, plus of course like the mask is also kind of putting some tension on the sides here, it being able to support like that by itself is very reassuring to me. So the magnets are connected. I'm really happy with how strong they are and how well they hold up the mask. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some airbrush weathering to this. So these are the colors I'm gonna be using. Green, because green is like his color. I wanna add little shades of it. Black will go around like the eyes and the seams here, and the bottom part here where the 3D printed piece will connect to it. Maybe just a little bit on the end here. And then the brown and the lighter brown will be just random around this. Now I don't want to add too much of this stuff. Like you'll mainly see the black here, and I'm barely gonna do any of the black. I think it looks good already. You can see I have the little streaks here. That's from the anti-fray. I just put it on a brush and it just like wiped it wherever I deemed it necessary. And that by itself, it already looks pretty good. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna do the black last, and then after I do the black, I'll add another coat of the black 3.0 onto the middle here where the seams are. So now I'm going to use E6000 glue to glue the light onto the back of the acrylic piece that I made. We're also going to glue in pieces of staples onto it, so that way after it's glued on, these stapled pieces will be able to go through the fabric that's covering the eyes, and it'll keep it in place. So I just need to hold it there until the glue hardens a little bit and it's able to keep it in place. Now when I put the staples on here, I'm going to make sure to put them perpendicular to where I soldered the wires, so that way I don't accidentally connect the two. Go ahead and put some more glue on the staples here to keep them intact. What I'm going to do now is add the mesh to the eyes. I'm going to use two different types of mesh. I'm not sure what these meshes are called. I just got them. You can see I have this mesh. This is usually used for like sports jerseys. I really like this, but I feel like the holes are too big. This is just like a transparent fabric. However, I felt like it was a little too transparent. If the eye was lit up, I feel like you would be able to see my eyes underneath. So what I decided to do was just layer them on top of each other and then sew around the edge here and then glue it onto the rest of the mask. So now I gotta attach the mesh to the inside here. And how I'm going to do that is with some contact cement, and I'm only going to do like about like 2 inches at a time. So on the fabric, I'm going to put some of the contact cement where I have the thread, and then just put this like a good like amount around the eye, 2 inches at a time. That way I don't like get this super dirty, and then you'll be able to see it, because then I'll just have to start over. And then I'm going to attach the light up eyes, and I'll show you guys how I'm going to do that. So this is the fabric that I'm going to be using for the cape. It was not this yellow when I bought it. I had to spray it with some cans of yellow fabric spray. There's little markings here, but that's fine because I'm going to weather this afterwards. I decided that from the base of my neck down, it's going to be 35 centimeters. Now I'm going to measure my shoulder seam to my other shoulder seam, and that looks like 18.5 centimeters. There, I'm just going to go put it on 9.5, and then that's where this is going to cut off at the 19. So now where I just marked it, I'm going to make a line from there to the corner of the fabric, and that's going to give it a good look when it drapes over the backpack. It's going to wrap around my neck at 8 centimeters, and I could just make an oval here. So my head will slip through there and make a line to the points I made, and then this is going to be the base of my throat. I'm going to want that to go down about 5 centimeters. I don't care for this to be symmetrical. The edges are going to be frayed and weathered afterwards anyway. So this will sit on my shoulders, and then this flap would come down, and then after I cut this out, I'm gonna use the entirety of the rest of the fabric that I have, and I'm gonna make that the hood. I'm gonna cut out the hole first and then put it on and see how I like this fit. I decided to go down about an inch. So luckily for me, there was this yellow felt on sale. I guess someone had returned it. It was a whole yard. I didn't need the whole yard though. I just needed this much. You can see I folded it in half, and the measurements I took are here. So it's going to be 19.5 inches long. That's including a little bit more out of here because I did cut an inch off of this end. There's also a little wave pattern here. It is 17 inches tall. And from this corner to this corner, that is 11.5 inches. And from the edge here to the middle of this arch here, that's gonna be 9.5 inches long. And from the top of this arch to the bottom of this corner here, going directly down, that's gonna be 4.5 inches. And then this was just eyeballed. You can see it's not even cut like properly. There's a whole bunch of, it looks like a polygon. But after that, I just folded it in half, cut it. Now let me explain this a little bit. So this is going to be the front. This is what's going to be in front of my face. This is for so that it rests on my shoulders, and then this down here is so that it could rest pretty low on my back, so that way when I have it on, it gradually goes down to the back and it doesn't look like it's just an added piece. I'm also going to fold the top down about an inch all the way around. I'm gonna make sure to sew this part here that goes in the middle of the back, and then afterwards I got some more of the yellow fabric that I have. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this in the yellow fabric. I'm gonna sew this fabric onto the felt, and then after that I'm gonna sew basically the hood or the collar to the rest of the cape here. So after this is sewn onto this piece, I'm gonna make sure to use the same fabric paint that I used to spray this fabric here. You can see how yellow it turns out. And then after I sew it onto the cape, hopefully I have enough to just sort of spray it and kind of make it blend into the rest of the cape. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't know, hold on. I didn't think this through. The way I'm gonna go about this is I'm gonna go ahead and fold this piece over and then sew that so that the top piece is down. That way when it's around my neck, this has the strength to keep its shape and also stay standing up. And then afterwards I may use some of the spray adhesive and then fold the whole thing over this way, so that way this fabric is covering this felt. So you can see right now it looks like a gigantic diaper, but here's the front piece. I don't have any of the spray adhesive on the front part so that you could get these creases in the fabric when you have it over yourself. Find out which ones I sewed the best. Sew it on top of it just like that, and then this will be sewn on top of the cape that I cut out. So here's that diaper. I cut off that extra 4 inches from the back because after I tried it on, it just felt like the rim was way too big. So I cut off 4 inches and I felt like that was the right option, the right amount, about 15.5 inches. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's a lot more yellow. That's because I sprayed it with the this spray that I got. So now the plan is to sew this onto the rest of the cape that I cut out earlier. So what I did was I just put the cape on, then I put the diaper on, and then I pulled down the back point here. It goes down flush to my back, and then I marked it with a pencil. And then I marked the halfway point of both ends to right where it met. And then I also marked the halfway point of the front that goes in front of my chest. That way I could just line up this sewn part to that exact point, and then if I just fold this in half, I know that that halfway point is right there, and then I can line that up with the front part here. I'm also gonna leave a little bit, like maybe that entire inch. That way I could fray this edge and it'll look a lot more weathered. I've been crumbling this up and sitting on it for a while now, just so that the fibers kind of break down, and when it's on my neck, it's not standing up straight. It kind of falls apart on itself, and I'm able to adjust that when I have it on. So I'm gonna line up those parts there. Okay, so I just marked where the seam point of my shoulder is right here, and then I lined it up, and I marked where it matches up with the hood here, and I did the same thing on the other side, and I think that this side was the better fit. That's 2 inches from the edge, and then I just continue on with the sewing. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. You can see the mask and the cape are done. At first, this is all I wanted to do. I just wanted to make the mask and the cape and then like have it as a display piece. But over time it did grow, and now I'm gonna make this a new cosplay. I have the backpack and I've already designed the iron soles on his shoes. I'm also thinking about adding a strap to the metal part here so that it wraps around my neck. That way if I do have this top part off, I can still wear the bottom half as part of the cosplay. I'm gonna try to link everything I had in the description as well as the buttons here on the side. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and if you have any questions about anything that happened in this video, leave it in the comment section. I'll try to answer them. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. I post updates there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Share it with anyone that you think might be interested in this sort of stuff, and I'll see you guys next time on whatever I do. Goodbye.